Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. Welcome to Extra Crispy. For today's video, we got a video by Andy Hoops titled, "What Happened to These Hyped Up NBA Prospects?" Guys that just came into the league, and they were supposed to be like superstars, all-stars, and then they were just like, not that. So yeah, as we go through this, I'm gonna try to give you guys my perspective on what I think happened to these certain players. So, let's get going on it, man.
Throughout my
bitch
time
ass
on
Darko.
YouTube, I haven't
Overhyped.
made too many videos talking about NBA busts.
And didn't like
Because
basketball.
for me, I don't want to judge a player so early into their careers. It's not reasonable to lose hope on a player after just a few years.
Yeah, we
They
give
might
high
just be
expectations.
late bloomers, and we've seen it happen a couple of times. Players who were drafted very high but started off very slow,
Yep.
but eventually blossomed later in their careers.
We expect so
I'm
much so
talking about
quickly.
guys like Chauncey Billups or Tyson Chandler
100%,
or
man.
even Steve Nash. They all come to mind. Unfortunately, the majority of the time, this does not
Got a
happen.
feeling Chris Dunn might
It's very
do that
rare
eventually.
to see a player start off
that type of
very
guy.
poorly and then pull it together to become a star. It simply does not happen that often. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about some NBA players who I believe are busts. In my honest opinion, I don't see these guys turning it around, and
Nerlens
for
Noel?
some of them, their careers might be coming to an end in the near future.
You just got no offense.
Also, I won't be talking about players who are clearly busts and not even in the NBA anymore. Like, for example, Anthony Bennett. It's obvious that he'll never live up to his draft position.
Bigger bust than
Anyway,
Darko.
without further ado, let's get started. First, we gotta talk about Michael Kidd Gilchrist, the second overall pick of the 2012 NBA draft, and as of this video, he's only 26 years old.
He still plays, doesn't
He
he?
recently turned 26 before the 2019-20 season started. However, he was just one player on a long list of Charlotte Bobcats that ended up never living up to his potential. In the 2012
Tyrese Thomas,
draft,
remember
it was
him?
quite obvious that Anthony Davis would be the consensus #1 pick. But what made it so terrible for Charlotte was that they went 7-59 in the previous season. They recorded the lowest winning percentage in NBA history, yet they still wound up with the second overall
Yo, Kevin
pick.
AD would have been nasty,
There used to be
though. Oh my
conspiracy
god.
theories about New Orleans getting the first pick, which mainly centered around the fact that the NBA itself owned the team during this time period.
That's when CP3 got declined from getting traded to the Lakers, by the way.
And getting the
Around
number one
that
pick
ti-
would
around that
increase
time.
the value
Around
of the
that time.
team, as it would later be purchased by Tom Benson. Anyway, I'm getting off track. The point is, Charlotte got very unlucky to begin with. And while Anthony Davis became a superstar, Michael Kidd Gilchrist has spent his entire career as a role player.
Damn, those
And
numbers is
now, in the
horrendous.
2019-20 season,
Not number
he's
two
barely
pick
even
numbers.
getting minutes, and looks like he's fallen out of the rotation.
Oh, so we don't play.
Instead,
Okay.
the team has
okay.
opted to focus on developing their actual young prospects, and pretty much gave up on MKG. It's been a rough ride for him. Back in 2014, it was
But see, I could see. I think a player like that just needs a change of scenery. Like if he went to the Lakers or the Mavericks or the Clippers, a team like that, where they're competing, and you know his offensive woes is not as big of an issue, but some of the other things he does out there nicely could be a big asset to a championship contending team. I think he just needs a new, I don't know, man,
reported
change
that
of
he was
scenery, plain
working
and simple,
to
I
fix
guess.
his jump shot with Mark Price, a former Hornets assistant and a great shooter back in his day. However, in that same season, he suffered multiple injuries that caused him to miss 27 games. Then, in the following season, he missed all but 7
somebody
games
throw
due
chop
to
him?
a severe shoulder injury.
Oh, shoulder. Okay.
That was on his right shoulder too. As a result, his early development was stunted. Even to this
Think we're gonna
day,
chill up here
his
for the
jump
video,
shots,
man.
which was what everyone knew he had to work on
got
to
stuff
become
going
a
on in the
star,
corner.
just never developed successfully. Defensively, he's taken full advantage of his physical tools, but in this day and age, a wing player needs to be able to shoot. MKG
Damn,
has
bro.
not shown that he could.
That
Before we
shot.
move on from the 2012 draft, I gotta mention Dion Waiters as well. Drafted right after Bradley Beal and 2 spots before Damian
Waiters
Lillard.
Islands.
Waiters never
Remember
became
that?
anywhere near as good as those 2 stars. His career was marked with unhappiness, overconfidence, and a lot of disagreements
And a
with
lot
his
of gummy
coaches and
bears.
teammates.
Too many
on
gummy bears.
Basically every team he's been on. Giving himself the nickname Kobe Wade in high school, Waiters was obviously a little bit too confident. Even at his best,
Yeah,
he
I'm
was
Kennard
barely
Jordan.
even a fringe starter. Recently, the Miami Heat even suspended him for 10 games for behavior that was detrimental to the team. And by that, I mean he ate some THC-infused edibles on a plane, which is basically marijuana candy. That led to him having a panic attack which scared the hell out of everyone on the team. Next up, Nerlens Noel. While Noel has occasionally
I feel like Nerlens Noel, I think I might have said this early on already, he don't really got no offense, but like if he really just zoned in on defense and rebounding and being an energy guy off the bench, he could have himself a very long NBA career.
shown flashes of star potential, it's once in a blue moon. For a guy who was initially considered the #1 pick of the 2013 draft, but then dropped down to number 6 because of a torn ACL, he still severely underachieved. 6 seasons later, and he still hasn't made any improvement since he was a rookie. His offensive game is so unpolished, he still can't shoot outside of 10 feet. He can barely create his own shot, and over 70% of his shots are assisted. In fact, his highest number of minutes played per game was in his rookie season, the only time of his career where he averaged over 30 minutes a game.
Get out of there.
His role is to be an energetic hustle player off the bench who catches lobs and sets picks. For a guy who was once thought of as a potential #1 pick, that's pretty sad to see how his career progressed. Other 2 big men from the 2013 class include Alex Len and Cody Zeller.
Alex Len trash, Cody Zeller, not a bad player, man. I mean, he's not bad. Zeller's a lot better than I thought he was going to be. Len was good like last year. Then the Hawks, he was supposed to be like new like Dwayne Dedmon. He just
were
not
drafted
bad.
Right before Noel.
Not at all.
They haven't been much better. Although Zeller has been consistently a solid starter for years, his career stagnated. The same with Alex Len, who contributes in limited minutes, but he isn't making much progress into becoming a star either.
Be a fall-off player, though, this year.
Moving on to the 2014 class. Normally, Andrew Wiggins would be on this list, but he's had a resurgence and is finally showing the talent that he's always been capable of. However, that's not the same for the 5th pick of the class, Dante Exum.
Dante was really
an
hyped.
absurdly hyped up prospect who unfortunately suffered a ton of brutal injuries in his young career.
Multiple ACL injuries?
He tore his ACL in his left knee after his rookie season. He had shoulder surgery 2 years later, and then 2 years after that, he tore his patellar tendon.
It's like, what do you do? In some cases, guys like Dante, like that first ACL injury could have just set off his entire NBA career. Like, if that never happened, we don't know what this man could have become.
His right knee.
It's sad to hear about.
It's ridiculous
really
how he suffered so many major injuries in such a short time, and he's only 24 years old. While I don't like to label players as busts if injuries were their downfall, but this is a situation where I don't see Exum
just
ever
look at Sean
reaching his
Livingston.
ceiling.
Use him as motivation.
Perhaps his current situation in Utah is not a good fit for him. Even when completely healthy, his opportunity in Utah has run its course, and maybe a change of scenery will help them get back on track.
Well, he shouldn't be a starter.
Recently, he also talked about how Coach Snyder is more strict with him compared to other players on the team. Because even though he wants more playing time, he has not gotten it, and he's on a very short leash.
Means he sees a lot in you.
When talking about this, he said, quote, "Coming in, I was adamant about being a point guard, and I still am. I still want to be, but I'm fighting for minutes. I want minutes. I think for me going forward, the best thing is just being on the court. I've had this conversation with my coach many times. It's just the expectation of me is so high when I go in, and I like to hold myself to a high standard as well. Yeah, I might have a tighter leash, but I expect myself to..."
But if he wants to play in shooting guard or even small forward, it's like, go out there and do that. Because you ain't going to be able to prove yourself sitting on the bench. I mean, you never really know.
Go in there and hold myself to that standard. From the 2015 draft, we have Jahlil Okafor, the
outdated
3rd
player.
overall pick. Just like with Michael Carter-Williams and
Just
Nerlens
wrong
Noel,
era.
his former comrades
Sad
in
to
Philly,
say.
Okafor also peaked in his rookie season.
Would have been an all-star in the early
Afterwards,
2000s.
He's hardly made any improvements to his game, and then he fell off. As a rookie, he put up 17 points and 9 rebounds.
He could have been like a Jermaine O'Neal.
He was so bad that he made Enes Kanter look like an All-NBA defender. That's how bad Okafor was on defense. And being that bad as a big man is also awful for your team's defense. That's why Okafor did not get to play significant minutes after that. Well, initially, they were hoping Okafor would be better, but the Sixers quickly realized that they made a mistake, and got rid of him after just 2 seasons. The only thing he brought to the team was being the tank commander for a couple years, before the era of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Keep in mind, Okafor was a national sensation before he joined the NBA.
He got some of the best footwork in the NBA.
He was ranked as the #1
No doubt.
prospect in the entire country.
He a thick boy
In
now,
his
though.
lone season at Duke, he led the team to the NCAA championship and was named the ACC Player of the Year. Okafor shouldered a ridiculous amount of expectations, and yet he lived up to absolutely none of it. Also, shout out to the 5th overall pick that year, Mario Hezonja.
Yep.
One of the greatest prospects
He's
from
supposed-
Croatia, who also
In all fairness, I did hear him get like J.R. Smith comparisons, which if he would have been J.R. Smith, that would have been cool, but you know, not exactly getting compared to like LeBron or Giannis or
saw
Kawhi.
his career flounder.
Just saying.
The good news is, at least he always has one ridiculous highlight every year, so that's something, I guess.
Man, oh my
The
god,
2016
disrespectful.
draft, most of the players at the top have been either very
Ellison,
good
don't
or
wanna see it.
decent. Except for Dragan Bender, the 4th overall pick. Another Croatian
Soft, unathletic player that played, you know, in the EuroLeague or whatever it was that he played at and dominated just based off skill, but just couldn't play. You know, he was a boy among men in the NBA. I think that's the best way to put it. Dragan Bender.
player drafted
Dragan.
high in back-to-back years, and another bust. Bender has
Friggin'
been
teddy
a
bear Bender.
non-factor for his entire
dragon.
career so far. Not only that, but everything about him is terrible. He's a 7-footer who has a career field goal percentage that's lower than 40%.
Oh my man.
The funny thing is, he
32%
was
from
drafted
three.
for his ability to shoot, his versatile post game, and his ability to handle the ball and pass. At least, that's what the scouting report said prior to the draft.
Yeah, someone drug touched that scout.
However, his three-point shooting has been quite poor, and every other part of his game has been awful. Even in his sophomore season, where he appeared in all 82 games for the Suns, played 25 minutes a game, and the results were
Oh my,
6
7
points per
points,
game, 4 rebounds a game, and 39%
In all fairness, the 3-point shot not bad, but that's probably on very low volume.
from
So
the field.
you increase that, it's going
I
back
mean,
down to
if he
32.
can't even produce on a team that's tanking, there's no way he'd make an impact on a team that's contending. Like the
See, I kind of disagree with that statement. Like, yeah, he might, because he's not gonna put up big numbers on a contending team, but you know, having other good players around you, good players, is gonna take pressure off you.
Milwaukee Bucks.
Like they'll leave Bender open on the
He's
Lakers.
just warming
man.
up the bench
He'll
and
be open
barely
every day.
playing. Now, at this point, from the 2017 draft and onwards, it's a bit too early to tell if those
The Luke
guys are
Kennard
actually
front and center by
busts.
Lonzo.
I've talked about guys like Josh Jackson and Dennis Smith Jr. in a recent video, about how they've been struggling a lot. DSJ looks nothing like he did in Dallas, and Josh Jackson has
He's in a
gotten
dark
into so
place,
many
though,
off-court
in his
endeavors
personal life.
that it's hard for me to see him coming back from that. But anyway, that sums up the video.
Okay, guys, that is the end of the video right there. Yeah, which one do you agree or disagree with? Is there players you think can still become something? Is there somebody else you should have had on here? Let me know in the comment section below. Peace out, guys.